Townshend, now an editor at Faber & Faber, if this is the best Stones book to date.
Well, I've read them all, and yeah, I do think that. I think Philip Norman is a very good writer. I think he's probably the best writer that's tackled the Stones. You know, there are other books, and some of them are well written, but this one I do like a lot. And my axe is always, you know, when I come to look at a book which says the Stones on the cover, you know, that to me is the Stones, and I think, well, this has got a lot to justify, because that book will sell to Stones fans just on the strength of the name on the cover. But I remember seeing the Stones when I was still at art college. It must have been 62, 63, something like that. And they were going to rehearse at the Ealing Club. They'd obviously only been formed a couple of months before. And I was an art student, you know. I had fairly long hair, and I'd seen a lot of things, and I thought I was pretty cool, you know. And I saw these, what looked to me like absolute animals in a bunch to go on a train at Ealing Broadway Station. And I said to my friend Barney, he said, "Look at those geezers, look at the length of their hair, look at that." And I was actually quite repulsed, and he said, "That's the Stones." And I kind of a chill went over my body, you know, because I thought, you know, they are the band that everybody is talking about at the moment. They're the band that play over at Richmond. And then I knew then that they were going to be enormous, you know, that they were that much rougher and nastier looking than the Beatles. But when you realise that the Beatles came on with little neat fringes, and my mother used to go up and switch the TV off, you know, that's disgusting. She didn't, but other mothers were doing that, I hear. You know.
What did you think of the Stones when you first saw them?
I first saw them at St Mary's Ballroom in Putney, the thing that Philip Norman mentions. The accuracy of his research is a bit strange, because he says St Mary's Ballroom in Richmond. It was actually in Putney. But I arrived, and we were going to warm up. We were still called the Detours, I think. And Keith Moon wasn't in the band. We were just a small group that used to copy Beatles hits and stuff like that. And Jagger came out, and he was just gross looking, and he was doing the twist, and there were two girls looking at him doing this incredible exaggerated version of the twist. And when they went out to play, Keith Richards went like that, which I immediately copied and have used all my life. And that was it. I mean, they were the band for me, and they always have been. They've always been my favourite band. They are the white rock band.
Do you think that he accurately captures the real personalities of the Stones? I mean, Jagger is described as sort of being narcissistic and sort of terribly stingy. Brian Jones is sort of pathetic, latent homosexual. Keith and Anita are sort of engaged in some kind of witches' cult. And do you think he captures the personalities who you obviously know?
Is it possible to capture personalities? You see, the thing is, do the Stones themselves even want to be captured? Is it not true that Mick Jagger has 5 or 6 different faces? Because somewhere in there is the real Mick Jagger that he doesn't want anybody to know about. This is the thing, as a friend of his, I've been presented with 2 or 3 options to deal with, to respond to. Mick had a party for Eric Idle of the Monty Python crowd in New York. And there was some music on, and Mick came up to us. We were standing drinking, both being very English, because Eric's very laid back and with our glasses, you know, watching all the model girls. And Jagger came up kind of like that, up to me and kind of and then backed off and went somewhere else. And Eric and I looked at one another and said, you know, because people don't do that to one another, and you know what I mean? It's like, I thought, well, you know, what was that for, and what was it meant to represent? Keith Richards is a tremendous actor. I mean, if you look at the new Stones video, the recent Stones video, Jagger comes across like a terrible ham, but Keith Richards is very convincing. You know, I mean, if Keith looks at you with his, you know, his hand on the bulge in his jacket and says, "I'm going to blow your legs off," I think the chances are that he will.
Lighting up to burst the brains out. The opposition's tongue is cut in two. Keep Bump the street 'cause you're in danger. 100,000 disparates lost in the jails in South America. Curl up, baby, curl up tight, curl up, baby. You all I'll say, undercover. You all I'll say, undercover of the night.
One of the things I think that redeems Philip Norman's book is that I didn't find it boring. There are bits of it that are boring because I know the stuff, but I'm always looking for new information and new angles. And as an editor, I'm looking for a new angle on what's gone down in the past. There's always, as I'm sure you are in your work. But the myth that hangs on the name The Stones is an empty myth in 1980, I think. And so I don't look for details about what the Stones are up to now. Mick Jagger was offered £1 million or given £1 million to write his autobiography. I wouldn't have offered him 25,000.